Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and if you're a guitar player who's looking to make some more money, then listen very closely to what I'm about to tell you. If you're a guitar player, or any other kind of musician for that matter, or if you know a musician who wants to make some more money without having to tour or go on the road, or put up with any of the other BS musicians normally have to deal with, then you need to download this new special report about how to make a small fortune by licensing your music. And by licensing music, I mean getting your music inserted into movies, television shows, and commercials. The report is less than 20 pages long, and it was written by Mike Elsner, who I interviewed in episode number 167 of this show. Mike's been doing this for over 14 years, and he's had over 2,000 songs licensed at this point in time. That means he's getting paid to license almost 150 songs per year. Now, keep in mind, most successful career musicians don't get paid for 150 songs in total over a 30 or 40-year career. Yet, Mike's getting paid for this on an annual basis. And the cool thing about this business is that you can run it from your own home studio, and you'll never have to deal with ivory tower record label executives telling you what to play and how to play it, and no shady managers or unethical business people telling you what to do either. So download Mike's free ebook on the 4-step plan to licensing success right now. Just go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Let me know how you like the book, and now let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and I'm here with a very uniquely talented guitarist. I'm here with Vicki Genfan. She's a multi-instrumentalist who plays guitar, banjo, piano, hand percussion, and trombone. And on guitar...
Oh, come on, trombone.
That's what I said. Is that true? I didn't even know.
Well, that was a long-ass time ago, Craig. Come on.
And flugelhorn. On guitar, she's got a really unique technique that she uses to play her acoustic guitar, which she calls slap tap. And it, just like it sounds, it involves slapping and tapping, but it's like really a lot more involved than that, and I would encourage you to go to YouTube and look her up on her website, and we'll talk about all that stuff, because she's got, I don't know, like I can't even, I'm a guitar, I play guitar, but when I look at someone like Vicki, the control that she has over the instrument to really make it emit all kinds of melodic sounds, and just it's hers, it's she owns that thing when she's playing it, and it's just her mastery and her ability to do what she wants the instrument to do, instead of like negotiating some common ground or getting out of it what she can, is really cool. It's quite apparent. She's also a master of open tunings, and I don't mean like one or two open tunings. She's schooled and skilled in 32 different tunings, which she uses to create different voicings and standard tunings offer. She was one of the featured artists on La Guitarra, a CD featuring the world's top female guitarists across all styles. She was also the first woman to win Guitar Player magazine's Guitar Superstar competition after competing against 9 other world-class players in front of celebrity judges. She's also been showcased as one of the world's top guitarists at festivals such as the International Montreal Jazz Festival, Germany's Open Strings Guitar Festival, Italy's Suave Guitar Festival, and hundreds of venues and performing arts centers across the U.S. and abroad. She's also an award-winning singer-songwriter with a high-energy stage presence, drawing from folk, jazz, pop, soul, and world music. And she loves teaching and has 5 instructional DVDs and is in high demand at clinics and music camps all over the world, and apparently even here in Tampa. She has 2 CDs released on Germany's Acoustic Music Records, and she's got 3 self-titled CDs. And she also does some really cool, interesting stuff with healing that we'll talk about too. So, hey, Vicki, thank you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Craig.
So my first question, and like anybody's, I think, that will watch you play, is how did you come up with both like all these open tunings, and then how did you develop the slap tap technique?
Well, it was way back before this stuff became really popular, and before there was a kind of a big cultish explosion of percussive playing. So this was in the This was in the 70s, Craig. So I started guitar when I was 5. My dad played. I had been playing piano since 3. So I guess they said I asked for lessons. I loved my piano lessons. I just loved my piano lessons. And, you know, obviously I couldn't play guitar until my hands were a little bigger. So at 5, I think it was my neighbor gave me a guitar, his old guitar or something like that. And my dad showed me some stuff. So I was playing. You know, I was just playing whatever I could do, just messing around, loved it. Never really put it down since age 5. And, you know, my dad was a folkie. We listened to a lot of folk music when I was really little, and Zorba the Greek. You know, I can't say that how it influenced me, but I know Zorba the Greek influenced me somehow. You know, my dad was a fan of Leo Kottke. That was like the only guitar-y thing that I remember hearing as a kid. And then I was like 11 years old, and I heard Joni Mitchell. I think I was around 11. And Joni Mitchell's guitar was really different to my ears. You know, it's like I'd been listening to whatever, folk music, whatever. And it's like, whoa, what is she doing? And, you know, what really grabbed my ear and my heart was these voicings that she was getting. They were like piano voicings. They were voicings of chords that I never could get with my G, C, D, A minor, E minor, or even bar chords. You know, where was she getting these voicings? And that's the magic that grabbed me. You know, and I learned. I guess someone told me. I don't know if my brother told me or somebody. Hey, she tunes the guitar different. That was it. So I started tuning, and I started tuning. I did it all on my own. I just did it because, wow, I loved these sounds of these voicings. And then, you know, I think I started with an open G tuning, and you know, you got your diatonic chords. I mean, I could show you. I mean, it's really simple. You know, you got these chords. Go just a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chord. And they're gorgeous, you know, and they're simple to play. And you got these ringing open strings. So I was addicted. It was like a drug for me. And, you know, I think the very first thing I did was a drop D, like we all do, you know, take the low D string. But then once I got into these chords, you know, so there was G, and then there was, and then you found, or I was able to find these gems, these little diamonds in the tunings. You know, it's like, yeah, you play the regular kind of 1, 4, 5 chords, and those were cool. And then all of a sudden you'd be noodling around and like, oh my God, listen to that. And you know, now I could tell you it's like a minor 11 chord or something. That's my favorite chord in the universe is a minor 11 chord, you know, or it's just got some really weird combination of color tones that, you know, and for whatever reasons, these sounds, they just mesmerized me. They took me over. And I was in that world, you know. Now that was my guitar. I didn't take lessons. I was using my ear pretty much totally. I wasn't really learning any cover tunes. I was just in this world of like, whoa, listen to this. Oh my God. Whoa, what happens if I change this? Oh, wow. Holy shit, look, wow. And meanwhile, I was going to school and I was playing trombone in marching band. I was reading music. I was first chair. You know, I was a good musician naturally. It came easy to me.
Sure.
So I was still taking piano lessons, playing trombone. And so I was reading and I was learning theory. And I'm really, really glad because on the guitar, I wasn't paying any attention to any of that. You know, I really could care less. I just wanted to just go into this world, this other world of open tunings. And really, when I think about it, it's simple. Those sounds and those tunings expressed feelings and moods that I had, you know. And I think we all remember, like, when we're that age, you know, preteen, teenager, those are really powerful emotional years, you know, like the music that we loved during that time becomes like, our anthems in our lives.
Totally.
And they're just, we're figuring out who we are and all this shit. And I was figuring out who I was through these tunings. And so it was really, I just feel really blessed that I had the opportunity to do that. And I would say somewhere along in high school, because a friend of mine who I played with in high school told me, she said, you started doing this crazy shit, thumb slapping things, she's like, I just wanted to play like James Taylor songs with you. And you were just, well, look at this. So somewhere along the line, my interest and my passion for percussion and for percussive playing started to, it's like my hands got itchy, and I loved Earth, Wind and Fire. They were one of my favorite bands. I loved, very funky R&B. I was intrigued by slap bass, and that sound and that feel. And so one of the first techniques that I started working with was a slap bass on guitar. I tried to play bass. My brother played bass, and it's so big, and I picked the bass up, and it's like these fat strings, and I'm trying to do a slap bass, and I just put it down. I love playing bass, but I can't do the funky thing on bass. But I could do it on guitar. Another version of it, it was easy to do. It was like, oh, wow. So that was one of the first percussive techniques that I started playing around with, I think. And, and then I found out about the harmonics. And, forget about it. The harmonics are crazy, Do you mind?
No, please. Are you kidding me?
So there's a D, just an open D tuning. And here some pretty diatonic chords. Really pretty stuff. Well, that just blew my head off.
Wow.
Again,
I just want to
harmonic.
Cuddle up in a blanket now and just keep listening to that and go to bed. Seriously.
It's just beautiful stuff.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
And so I was playing the harmonics at first, just in a way, almost like I'd use them a lot of times as kind of a backbeat, almost like hitting a snare drum. And that's just what I realized was now I'm getting sounds from the guitar, from the acoustic guitar that you don't usually hear.
Right.
And I was starting to, as a teenager and stuff, starting to say, hey, I want to play music. I want to do this. I was writing songs, and I knew that there was just a ton of people, especially a ton of girls, ton of young women playing folk guitars, writing their own songs, singer-songwriters. And I needed a way to stand out, and I thought these sounds are different, and so I really wanted to keep using them. And plus I love the way they sounded. And these techniques, the thumb slapping, the harmonics, they worked super, super well with an open tuning. It's like they were like a hand in a glove, because in an open tuning, you have all these open strings. And you can just keep building chords on your fifth and sixth strings, run your bass notes all up and down, and have access to these cool sounding harmonics. They can't do that as easily on a standard tuned guitar.
Can you play your favorite chord?
Well,
or is it in the wrong tuning to really?
It's kind of in the wrong tuning. I mean, certainly that's one of them. But what makes it one of my favorite chords is to do this to it.
It's funny. Like as soon as you picked that up, your energy like totally went through the roof. To be very honest with you.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, totally. It was like, you know, like, and the more you played, the more you like got in that, you know, settled into that high sort of. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's cool that you got to actually see that.
Oh, I feel
like,
it, man. Are you kidding me? It's like you'd be have to be, you know, completely stoic not to to see what's going on. Wow, cool. That was pretty intense.
Yeah. So normally I tell a brief, kind of, you know, truncated version of this a lot of times when I'm playing at a gig, and I do it with the guitar in hand, and you know, I because I want people to see that what I'm doing when I play a song like Atomic Reshuffle or Newgrass or one of my instrumentals that's just looks crazy. I want them to understand that it really is just based on a few different techniques that now I've put all together and play fast. So it seems unimaginable, but you know, it's harmonics, it's thumb slapping, it's a heck of a lot of hammer-ons.
But when you slap, right? When you're slapping, it's not like electric guitar slapping that's primarily done for speed or efficiency.
Well,
when you slap,
you mean
it's like, it's exactly what you said would turn you. It's all melodic based. Like everything to me, whenever you do something, there's a melodic reason. I mean, it sounds good. It's not like, you know, you're not slapping to, you know, increase your, you know, beats per minute or to get more notes out of it.
Well, I want to just differentiate between slapping and tapping.
Yes, please.
Okay. First of all, I'm an electric guitar idiot. Okay. Like I've paid no attention my entire life to electric guitar players in terms of what are they doing, you know, like, except for Pat Metheny, who I adore. And he's been one of my favorites forever.
Right.
But, you know, the whole rock thing and the whole play fast thing and, you know, like what Jennifer does. Yeah. Oh my God. It amazes me, but I don't even know any, especially while I'm developing all my own stuff on acoustic. I have no idea that there's actually a technique called tapping. That's, you know,
okay.
That whatever it is, I can't even do it. I can't even do it.
Don't do that.
So, what I do, right? So
that's like seeing, you know, a great painter and with like crayons all of a sudden. Don't do that.
Yeah, right. I don't know how to do it. So I don't mean for slap tap to be misleading. So I just to explain, when I say the slap part of my technique involves actually thumb slapping, pretty much low notes. You know. That's what I mean by thumb slapping.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's a little bit like trying to be a funk bass player.
Sure.
But the thing that I refer to as tapping is actually harmonic tapping, and it involves simply percussively hitting the strings on the harmonic, you know, 5th, 7th frets, and combining that
Wow.
That's kind of the sound that I think I've become known for.
Yeah. Wow. It's just, when you, like I said, when you do that, it's just, I'm amazed how much control you have over that instrument. I mean, it's just, it's really, I mean, it's not like magic. It's tons of time and doing that, you know. I mean, it's not like, you know, you have this special glow over you. I know it's like hours and hours of doing that, and but you've just, it's perfect, you know, how you do it. It's really just from a performance standpoint, it's just amazing to watch how you control that instrument. And I don't mean control in a control negative way. I mean just like in a positive, how you get the instrument to do what you want it to do. Excuse me.
Yeah, well, this like I said, I've been playing using these techniques for 35, 40 years, you know, and gradually adding things. So there was a point at which I did want to get more speed, or I forget what it was. And I suddenly realized I could use my left hand coming on top of the bass strings and then get this little ridiculous. This is my left hand. And then there's, of course, then what about the body? So when you realize that and I just kept realizing there was more things that the guitar could do.
Yeah.
And that was like a very drawn out process over a lot of years.
Sure.
And there was nobody that I knew about that was doing that. And I started to play out more frequently because I was part-time music and part-time other things. But when I started to play out more in the early 90s, people started talking to me about Michael Hedges. I didn't know who Michael Hedges was, and then I found out who Michael Hedges was, and then Michael Hedges died. So I never got to see him play or anything. But, I realized that he was big in the open tuning world. He was, kind of charting his own territory. And he was a very, very influential player to a lot of the current percussive open tuning players now. So, but I have to just say that, and there are guys and women doing things that I can't even do at this point, and one of the things that blows my mind is that everybody who's doing these kinds of techniques, they've got their own styles. They've got their own little, there's tons of them. Andy McKee has his way. He's got his little Andy thing. Don Ross has his thing. Andy was very influenced by Don Ross. They have a lot of similar things, but still Don's got his own little Don Ross thing, and each player has techniques and methodologies that are completely unique, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here. I'll let you answer more questions, but one of the decisions I made early on was to go my own path. And to not try to be like Michael, try to be like Andy, try to be like Khaki King, try to be like Preston Reed, not try to be like Joni Mitchell, not try to be like, Earth, Wind, and Fire, but continually come back to what is it that I want to say? What is it that I have to offer? What are my gifts? Because I felt like every time I would try to emulate some other player or some other writer or songwriter or singer or guitarist, I would lose something.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's really any choice in something like this. You have to be yourself. I mean, that's why people play music for the most part, to be authentic, Right,
but when you think about doing it commercially, then you have to ask yourself some different questions.
Yeah, okay, good point. So you have to ask yourself, what's going to sell, and how much do you need to do, and how much of that can you incorporate into your stuff, and yeah. But I think
what's going to sell. Yeah.
But I've interviewed probably 200 guitarists, and I think for the most part, everybody. And I don't think someone would say, well, Craig, I decided to do this because I wanted to sell out. So, I'd be lying to think someone's that, transparent with me. But I think most people most of the people I've spoken to have had that conversation with themselves at some point in time in their career about something. And they've either stayed the course or, whatever. But that's a good point. Hey, I had some questions to ask you about some of the stuff you said. I would imagine doing this, the wonderful but probably inadvertent byproduct of this was your knowledge of that neck was just like razor sharp.
What do you mean by knowledge?
Well, you're knowing the frets so well because you're changing. It's not like you have to learn it in one tuning. You've got to learn this in 20, 30 tunings. You got to be pretty sharp. It's over and over and over again. So I would imagine, memorizing the neck and understanding the relationship between the notes was an inadvertent byproduct of all these open tunings, or no?
No.
Really? How did you learn the neck so well?
Well, there's different ways of knowing the neck, and this is what I've done. I always lead with my ear. Always lead with my ear. So if I'm in a new tuning, I get to that new tuning simply by following my ear in the first place. Mm-hmm. I basically know what my lowest string is pretty much all the time. Okay, I got a C or a B or an E or an F or an A or a G. But I don't pay any attention to anything else pretty much. Maybe I pay attention to my low 6 and 5 strings. Do I have a 5th there? Do I have a 4th there? Do I have a 3rd there? What do I have there? Because I use those 2 strings together a lot for my bass notes. Mm-hmm. After that, I don't think about what the hell notes I have at all. No concept, no interest at that point. I'm interested in what do I hear. And number 1, what do I hear? Do I like it? Does it match what I want, what I need? Number 2, if I get it and it's a tuning that I feel, wow, this is awesome, then I got to ask myself, what can I do with it? And then I begin experimenting and exploring. And I have ways that I do that. I've written out charts of open tuning exploration chart. Here's 14 steps to take, and then whatever. But none of those steps for me involve a realization or a cognitive understanding of what notes am I playing. I'm only going by my ear.
That's interesting.
That's just how I work.
Yeah, sure.
Now, at any point in time, I can tell you what the notes are because I have enough theory and enough knowledge to know. But I don't want to know, and I don't think about it because it only gets in my way at that point.
Sure.
And the way, I've identified the 36 tunings that I've worked with, but the way that I store that information in my brain is much more picturesque and kinesthetic than it is
cerebral, sort of.
Cerebral,
yeah,
let's say.
Okay.
Let's say identifying notes. I'm not that person. I'm not that player.
Right.
I have the ability. I have the skill to, like I said, I'm working on prepping for new courses. This is my second open tuning course that I'm going to be working on right now for TrueFire. I have to know it all. I have to know what chords. I have to know what notes are there. So I can do that. But I never come into it that way. So the way I remember and hold on to my understanding of where everything is, I have a tuning in my head, in my brain, tuning. And then I have connections to all the songs that I've created in that tuning. And so I've got all these little tunings in my brain. Mm-hmm. And for each tuning and each song in that tuning, I've got a visual kinesthetic memory, of where I need to be. Does that make sense?
No, it makes so it's 100% tone driven ear. It's your ear. You're listening and you know where to go from there. You go between your ear and your heart and your hands and you're all good to go.
Yeah. And, okay. Now, whether that's, in some ways that's a disadvantage to me, but as long as I know that I can.
I think anybody would be, sorry to cut you off. I don't think anybody would say, listen to what you do and say, you're really at a disadvantage here. So I don't think we even need to have that conversation, to be honest.
Okay. That's just the way I work.
That would be a little absurd because even if someone says it, okay. Great. Next. You made a comment too that you needed to stand out. And I think that was pretty astute of you to think that through. I was curious if at that point in time you knew that this was going to be your deal, that you wanted to do this. You did. When did you realize that?
Oh, probably, I probably knew it before I was ready to admit it, but I probably knew it, in my very late 20s, early 30s. What kept me from knowing it was my lack of self-confidence. And that therein is my pretty much only and biggest obstacle in my life, period, has been my lack of confidence.
You know, I've spoken to so many great players like you, and this is a common thread. And I think it's a common thread. As a guy coming from the business world, it's not uncommon there either. People don't discuss it as freely, you know, because, you know, musicians are, which is why I enjoy these conversations. Musicians are willing to be a lot more vulnerable and open than like business guys are in general.
Yeah, perhaps,
you know? I mean, it's weird. It's really weird. I mean, like about everything, like even like relationships. Like I can count on one hand. And I got tons of friends in business, really good friends, guys I really like. But I can count on one hand the number of times like any of them have said, you know, yeah, man, I really value my relationship with my partner, my spouse, whatever. And that's like a common conversation with a musician, you know. That's like very common, you know. And it was, I even told my wife that. I said, really weird, babe. All these guys talk about their wives really positively. and she's like, what do you mean? I said, well, like, yeah, all my business friends, nobody talks about their wives. It's really weird. But anyway, sorry, not to get off that, but yeah, that's a pretty common theme. That what have you done, or if you're comfortable, what have you done to like, or what do you do or talk to yourself to push through that?
Well, you know, I've done a lot of personal work. Whether it was part of my interest in studying healing arts, to actually learn more about myself.
Yeah,
I've had a meditation practice since I was 14, off and on, you know, which has grown over the past years immensely, and that's another way that I work. And I've read and listened to billions of videos by inspirational speakers. I've worked with some really, really powerful healers. In fact, this past 2 years, I've just worked with a woman who does an amazing kind of healing work that it's so wacky. It sounds like I'm insane telling you about it, but it's the kind of work that I think is exactly addressing what we're talking about. And that work is basically, how do I say it in a way that sounds sane?
Don't worry about sounding sane. Just be yourself. It doesn't, like, if someone doesn't, it's not your problem, you know.
It's a kind of work where you go back and you look at trauma that you incurred as a kid, you know, which we all did.
Sure.
And just being a kid, you know, and having parents, you're going to have trauma.
Sure.
And you look back at very specific events, named or unnamed, but you basically, you kind of find them and you kind of identify what kinds of beliefs you came out of that situation with, whether you were 4 years old or 6 months or whatever. Sure. You know, you kind of identify what that made you kind of understand about the world and yourself. And then through many different processes, she helps you. You kind of, it's looked at as a frequency that's been created, because now this takes me into the healing world, where everything is actually a vibration or a frequency. So if I've got this belief that I'm not worthy of X, Y, Z, there's a frequency that's resonating with that. That belief is got its frequency, and we basically reprogram that frequency.
So it's kind of, it sounds like just like kind of like therapy, except you're adding in the vibrational, the physiological impact of that on you, and so really you have kind of like, in a way, maybe it's even more assuming that these frequencies exist, and if you don't believe it, you won't be having a conversation about it. But but assuming they exist, it's in a way maybe even more thorough, because you're like sort of, I don't know, not exercising your demons, but that's but let's use that for now, because I can't, like, exercising your demons both in the head and like figuring out physiologically what do you do to like get rid of that particular signal that's in there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I mean,
I don't really think it's
a cool
crazy.
it's cool, and it's
I'm 54, Vicki. I've nothing like surprises me. There's like really nothing you could say, and I'm from the Bronx. There's really nothing.
Yeah, I grew up in. I was born in the Bronx, and I grew up in Washington Heights.
There you go. So I mean, like, what's going to surprise me?
Brothers. It's just,
there's really nothing.
So
say. Yeah.
Look. I've come out. I was born with a fierce wonderment and questioning of the human condition and human suffering. I was born really wanting to understand why people hurt and why we're in pain and why we're fucked up as human beings. That's a theme that has always been in my life really strongly.
I hope you got 10 more lifetimes to complete your studies.
Right? I know. You're right. You're exactly right. One of the frustrations.
You'll be you're gonna be a busy woman.
I know.
Trying to figure that out. Holy crap.
I know. But wow. These are that's something that has shaped a lot of my decision making, or guided a lot of my decision making in terms of what I've done in my life, what I've chosen to do or not do. And it also, there are some regrets I have that I didn't go further into that realm too. So it's.
Yeah, but I think everybody has, you always want to, if you're like a curious person and you're ambitious and, intellectually aggressive, I think, which most, sort of type A people are, you're always going to want to do more. I wish I could have done this. And you just don't, it's like wanting to have more hours in a day though. Sometimes, it's just not really possible,
Yeah, I think one of the wonderful things about aging or getting older is that you have the opportunity to give yourself compassion.
Yeah, you realize that, and it cuts a lot of stress out of your life, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you realize that was one of the biggest things. I realized that I was responsible for X amount of the stress in my life, and I'm like, wow, that's great because I'm done. No, seriously.
If that's the case, then okay.
No, but it was like that. It was just as simple as that. I was like, great, this is fucking gone and great, mm-hmm. Brand new, It was that simple. Once I realized that, it was really weird and very strange. I don't even want to talk about guitar anymore now, Vicki.
I don't really care.
All right, okay, so you were born in the Bronx and you grew up in Westchester, you said?
No, I grew up in Washington Heights.
In Washington Heights, okay, in northern Manhattan. And then where'd you go?
Then we went to the suburbs of New Jersey.
And how was your childhood? Good?
My childhood was okay. I was very lucky in a lot of ways. I had a lot of support to study and follow my music. The little stuff. My parents got divorced when I was 10. My father was extremely critical. My mom was extremely passive. So it was the typical childhood in that there's many great things about it. There was no major big kind of trauma, but there was a lot of little stuff all throughout my life as a young person. And who I came in as, me, I guess one of my projects as a human being in this body in this lifetime has been to learn about feeling valued and to learn how to give that to myself. Because I just grew up, with taking it hard, the critiques from my father, the critical stuff from my dad, took that really hard, and having a mom who was passive, loving, warm, but passive, I didn't know how to really use my fire. My mom didn't use her fire so much. My dad used it to hurt.
Right.
So I've had to really grapple
so you had to
with
figure out like that. Because you had a bad example of it on both sides, kind of, or no example.
Yeah.
And a real bad example. So you kind of had to figure out so what do I do with this thing and how do I sort it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. And my mom was extremely passive. Like she was one of the people that, they say invisible people.
Yeah.
My mom was like that. Nice person, but probably someone that you wouldn't notice like that. And then I married my mom, my first wife, actually. And then I was like, fuck, this sucks. This is great as long as I don't need anything in this relationship. I was serious. I was like, shit. And it's not her fault. It was my fault for choosing her. Right. I mean, it wasn't her. I mean, I had no right to tell her to change. Right. And I was like, God, I'm done. But because like, it's great as long as we don't have any, as long as like I have all the answers that I need to make decisions, and I don't have all the answers, and I never pretended I had all the answers. And I was like, shit, I need some help. So yeah. And it's funny, I know we talked about, my wife before. That's like the thing I respect about her the most, and I like valued about her when I met her. I was like, yeah, this is an equal partner. It's not me. I don't want to carry the ship of a relationship. I want to be a partner. If I'm down, what the hell am I going to do? I need someone that can kick my ass, And so that was what I liked about that. So,
yeah. Well, good for you that you found that. You got it right.
Yeah. It's one of the things I'm most proud of. I don't know how the hell I did that. You had brothers and sisters. You said you had a sister and a brother?
I have a brother, an older brother. Yeah.
Does he play music as well?
Yeah, he's a bass player.
Really? That's so cool.
He was definitely helped me get into music as well. Yeah.
What kind of work did your folks do?
My mom was a secretary for a while, and a couple different jobs. And at one point, she was working over at is it NBC Peacock? She's working over at Rockefeller Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a secretary to somebody. I don't know who there. I was really young then. And,
sure.
But then she ended up being her last job was she was working at an employment agency. So she's working at a place where they help people get jobs. And
sure.
I feel like she was just starting to come into her own in a way. She was 48. She died of cancer.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Wow, that's very young.
Yeah.
Wow, real sorry.
Yeah, thanks. And my dad was a very, very unhappy. I don't know what he did early on, but he ended up being a professor at Ithaca College,
right.
And in Ithaca, and he supposedly hated it. He was teaching business ethics, and he was not getting along ever with the people he worked with and for, and so there was always drama, and he was always a victim, and he was a very, very uptight guy, and he was a chain smoker, chained to the point of like, you're at a meal and the ashtray is on the table.
Wow.
So that the minute he's done with his meal, he'll light up. And my dad had a lot of tension. He was a very unhappy man. And now I could see he came from a mom who was tearing him limb to limb critically.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I get that he was just really unhappy and stuff. But and then when he finally retired, he got sick. So his life was really fucked.
Wow. Holy shit! You know
and
what?
He died a very long, sick, horrible time. It was.
Yeah, but
my dad was kind of pathetic.
Angry people are like that.
And he was really smart too, and really creative. That's the saddest thing about it all. He could sing, he could act, he could draw, he could he played guitar, mandolin. I mean, he was really talented, creatively. And he was a Mensa member, so he was very intellectually smart. But he couldn't see his own damage.
Yeah.
And he couldn't help himself. And it's tragic. It's just a tragic life.
Wow. That's pretty intense. That's, have you used your music? Has your music helped you reconcile some of this?
Woo!
A bonus
question. I'm gonna read you a lyric.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read you a lyric. Okay, because this is my latest song. This came right out of a session with the woman I've been working with.
Yeah, your healer.
She said at one point we were looking at something that had happened and blah blah, and it's like, how did you feel? And the word that we found was crushed. Do you mind if I just read this to you?
No, please do.
It's not finished. I don't have the bridge, but this is the basis of it. As a little girl in bed at night, monsters all around, frozen in fright. As a little girl, gonna make her daddy proud. As a little girl, too small to be seen, too quiet to be heard, too scared to dream. As a little girl, gonna make her daddy proud. Gonna make him proud the only way I know how. Gonna make this guitar sing out. Here's the chorus. Crushed. You crushed me, but you did not kill the little light inside. Crushed. You crushed me, but that little girl still alive inside. As a little girl just trying to shine, hoping to claim all that was mine. As a little girl, gonna make her daddy proud. As a little girl, never took what was hers, blamed it on you while inside it still stirs. As a little girl, gonna make her daddy proud. And the chorus goes again.
Wow.
As a little girl, made to feel wrong, sacrificed so you could feel strong. As a little girl, gonna make her daddy proud. And then the last verse. Broken bones, you know they can mend, grow back together, and they're so much stronger in the end.
Wow. That was pretty intense. So
that's my latest song. So yeah, I'm still
your music has helped you a little bit, huh?
I'm still working it out, Craig. And
aren't we all? Aren't we all?
I'm again, I feel blessed that I can work it out through music.
We're all just working it out. You know, nobody's got all their shit together. I think opposite sex parents, I think that's more of a hit, to be honest with you.
Maybe so.
Yeah, I think so, because I read somewhere that this is really weird. So I don't remember what it was. It was some shit that I was trying to work out, and I read somewhere that, okay, this is it. I still work a lot, and I am a workaholic, but I used to be, I used to have my identity wrapped up. Like, when things were going good, I felt good. When things were going bad, I felt bad. And I realized that was unhealthy because, you know, who I am and what I do is not the same thing. Even though for guys, you know, conventionally, guys, you know, you tend to assimilate that. But I didn't like that because I felt like it was impacting, you know, I felt that it was impacting how I felt about myself when I was being a dad to my kids. We have 3 kids, and how I was being a husband to my wife, or just, you know, a partner to her, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But I read though that opposite sex parents, when you have had issues with opposite sex parents, that you tend to evaluate yourself. For some reason, you tend to be performance driven and have that. Now, I don't know why. I mean, I had issues with both my parents, but far more greater with my dad than with my mom. But that was one thing. But I think it's you know, there's a thing there with opposite sex. And like when I had I didn't grow up with sisters. When we had a daughter, like I read a bunch of books because I didn't know. Like I didn't want to mess that up because I knew that opposite sex. So like I always. Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I mean, I'm not like an abusive person, so that wasn't an issue. But I wanted to know. I didn't know the right, I didn't want to just be like baseline. I wanted to just give her a lot of confidence, And so I always, I read books to know how to, I always made sure I told, she looked beautiful every day, and I enjoyed what she was doing, and I got involved in projects, and I always acknowledged her presence, and, because I knew that was important. And I don't know if inherently I would have known that. I didn't have any girls. I didn't have a particularly good childhood. So, and I knew my boys, so I knew how to handle them. It was very natural, but with the girls, so I didn't want to mess that up. And now I have this little, nightmare, because she's just like me. She's very strong personality, and like, fuck. So
How old is she?
She's 18 next month. We're on the 10-yard line here, Vicki.
That's that's a, it. Yeah, I mean, that's trying to be your own person time.
Yeah,
it's got to be filled with strife, or you can't blossom. I don't know. I don't have kids, but
yeah. And I'd rather her be that way than like too timid, to be honest with you. I'd rather like feel sorry for her boyfriend than no, seriously, because I'm not worried about her independence, or like, can she take care of herself? So, and I know she'll settle down at some point in time, or she won't, but it's not my shit anymore. So, but so yeah, I understand a lot of that stuff. Let me ask you this. As it relates to music, outside of the confidence thing, what other obstacles, if any, have there been that you've had to push through?
That to me is so all encompassing. Because whatever it is you got to do to make your life work, to make an income, to build your career, it all involves showing up, putting yourself out, meeting people, not getting deterred by hearing a no or a rejection. Don't you think? I mean, no matter what it is you're trying to do,
100%.
Those are the things that you have to deal with. And when your self-confidence is in and out, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Something can throw it off real easy. Your own little demons can throw it off. And underneath all of it, there's this sense of, well, you're really not even, I don't even know if you should even be on this planet,
Yeah.
Like, just the slightest whisper of that is enough to have held me back from making phone calls, or getting certain gigs, or making certain connections with people, or figuring out how I was going to get enough gigs to make enough money to get to this event, or
Sure.
So I don't, and I'm not saying this as a victim, and I'm not saying this to beat myself up, but I do see that my biggest obstacle throughout my life, in every way, has simply been my lack of value, self-value, and self-confidence.
Yeah.
And so, in some ways, maybe that served me in some ways. I don't know. I don't really care. But that to me, the female thing, being a woman, truthfully, I have felt that has been, in many cases, an advantage, because of the inherent bias that we have as a culture to see women as slightly less than. When you show up as a woman and you've got something that you have a talent to give, a lot of times, whoa,
expectations,
look what she could do.
Expectations were low, so you blew past.
Yeah. So that's kind of an ass backwards.
No, I get. Yep, I totally get.
But there are times where that worked for me.
Yeah.
Look, when I was in high school playing trombone, I was good enough to be first chair, and once I got that spot, man, I was motivated because I had a row full of guys sitting down there.
Good for you.
And it's like it motivated me. It's like, so, being the woman, the only woman ever to win the Guitar Superstar, that was that was a big thing for me. I was very proud of that as a woman to say, hey, I'm representing the women here. You know, hopefully more and more and more and more women are starting to know that it's okay for them to be great musicians or whatever. But I've never felt that was an obstacle for me.
Did you take that in? Did you allow yourself to take that in when you won that award?
I did, but I immediately got angry because I immediately was face to face with the male energy in the industry, especially in the guitar player, electric guitar world, and especially in the magazine itself. Let me tell you what happened the day after. I'll tell you what happened.
Yeah, because that's a really big thing. That's a really significant award.
It is. The next day, first of all, I don't even remember what happened after I actually won. I think what happened is I was a little in shock, and I was also, again, doubting my own confidence. And so I didn't run around and get the pictures with Steve Vai and Joe Satriani. You know, so like I have no record that I even was there. You know, it's like, wow, did you really? Was that, you know?
Yeah.
Luckily, my wife videotaped it.
Great.
But here's the thing. The next day, I go online to see, you know, what's being written about it, and maybe to get some articles that I can share and post and stuff. And the first two articles I see, one was coming out of the San Francisco Chronicle, I think it was, and I forget what the other one was. Those two articles mentioned that I won the competition and showed pictures of some of the male contestants.
Oh, you're kidding.
And no pictures of me. And to me, that was the backlash. That was the backlash. That was the industry that couldn't handle the fact that a fucking woman just won that contest.
That's just... You think that's what it was? It was just like really shitty professionalism on the part of the people. Wow.
I think that it was, and I think that it was unconscious. I don't even think they realized it. So I called the magazine.
Good for
I said,
you.
what the hell? What is going on? How come there's no pictures of me? And they were like, oh, we got pictures of you. We got pictures of you. It's like, you're not hearing me.
We didn't put them in the article, but we have.
Nobody got them. You may have them, but you didn't give them to anyone. You're not like, do you care? Are you even interested?
Wow.
It was really a slap in the face for me. I was really pissed off about that.
I would be
and I
too.
don't feel like that's like chip on my shoulder. I feel like that's, you know.
No, it seems pretty legit.
That's the world we live in, you know. It's like, I swear to God, you could hear Andy Summers. He cracks. His voice cracks when he announces my name as the winner. And I promise you that when he read the card that said my name, I'm sure that what went through his head was, what? You know, he was the MC of the event. And he's talking, you know, he's out there doing his little spiel going, oh, we got a bunch of guys here that can play their asses off, you know, and it's like all was about all the guys. Talk about feeling invisible.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like, just so you know, Andy, there happens to be a woman in this competition today.
Yeah, right.
There is one. Just saying. There is one. And as a matter of fact, oh, she won. How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's like.
Yeah, so it's kind of like tainted, but yeah. That kind of sucks.
But I was thrilled that the judges did what they felt was, you know, in their hearts to do. And that was to give me the points they gave me, you know, and so that really did make me feel good. And that was a big turning point in my career and in my self-confidence, you know, and also more than that, Craig, it was just an affirmation. It was like the universe was saying to me really loudly, look, you chose to go your own path. You're not doing cover tunes. You're not doing someone else's music. You're not playing music every night at a bar to make your money. You know, you have a harder time getting the gigs you want because of what you do, but you stuck to it. and you created something that has your signature on it, and you just got acknowledged by some really, really big players. And so for me, it was almost like the ending of a chapter.
But you did allow yourself to feel that, because I think that's really important.
I did.
Yeah, because you did something really meaningful there. Not for anybody else, for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really did. I mean, you created something. I mean, you're not up there playing blues.
No, I'm not.
You know, I mean, you literally created something from nothing, and you got recognized by all of your peers, you know, of the community, for whoever they are. But you were the one who got that. So I hope you took that in, because it's a really big honor. Good. That's good. It's a really big honor.
I did.
And, you know, there's always going to be assholes no matter what. You know, there's. Yeah, don't let those. You shouldn't let them rain on your parade. I could see you being upset, though. That would have pissed me off if they had. You know, you win and then they put someone else's picture. That's almost like fuck you, to be honest with you.
Well, not almost. It's not almost.
No, that is. It's just like really. But
that's the only time I felt that, you know, that woman thing come into play. It really was. Other than that, I've used it to my advantage. Let's say that.
Good for you. Okay, let's talk about. I want to ask you this question because I'm curious. If you were able to give yourself, your younger self, advice, what advice would you have given?
I think I would have said something like, check yourself and don't ever let yourself get away with not doing something because you're afraid. Don't ever let that be the reason you don't do something.
Can you take that advice now from yourself?
Yeah, I have to. I have to every day.
Good.
Still working it.
Good. All right. Talk to me about the energy healing called polarity therapy, because you became a nationally registered practitioner in the mid-90s. Talk about that and how your music relates to that. Why'd you do it, what it's done for you, and what you've done for others.
I've kind of said it earlier, but I've always had an intense curiosity about healing.
Wait a minute. Healing. Hold on a second. I'm going to cut you off. You're just intense, I think, in general, but everything. And I don't need, that's not a bad thing, because I'm kind of like that. So, but I'm just telling you, newsflash. It's not just about healing. It's not just about playing guitar. You're just, but it is. You're just intense. Trust me.
Okay.
And I mean that in a positive way, but.
Okay. You know, I do wish I had multiple careers. I wish I could do it all. Wish I could do it all. Okay. I love the world of being a musician. I wish I was playing enough gigs to do that and make a fortune. I do, but I'm not. And, you know, throughout my late 20s, early 30s, I certainly didn't have the confidence to go for, let me just go for it and try to, you know, I could have. I didn't have the confidence. And my style wasn't as solidified. You know, I wasn't as mature as a musician yet. So that was my fate in this lifetime. But so I had to think about, how do I want to make money? And my mom died. I had been living in Ithaca. I went to college for 2 years, Ithaca College, as a guitar major, but I dropped out because I wasn't into it. I just wanted to play my own shit, basically. So I dropped out, had a band. My mom got sick. And when she died, I got a very small inheritance, $30,000. And I decided, let me move to New York City, partially because I had a band and they were all my friends. and they were not very good musicians, and I didn't know how to end the band.
Yeah.
It's like I remember I got just so
That's
part
funny.
of it was that
You ended the band because you left.
Yeah, I mean,
So you
it's
didn't
like,
have to hurt. You didn't have to hurt anybody's feelings.
Right, that was big. That was big. But I could justify it because, it was going to be a good career move. And, I'm going to see what I could do in New York City. So I've been living in Ithaca for 6 years. And
what would you have done if they said, "We're going with you"? You would have been so fucked.
I would have been fucked. I knew they would. I knew it. I was positive. They're still there. They're all still in Ithaca. None of them left. So I had this little tiny bit of money, and I said, I'm going to go to New York City and see if I can somehow, get involved in the music business. And I was young, Craig. I was 24. And I found a job in a recording studio making tape copies and, making very little money, but I was in the business and I made some good contacts and blah, 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 learned some cool stuff. But, ultimately it wasn't making me enough money. My friend Rob said to me at one point, he said, look, I've learned how to bartend and I can make $200 a night cash. And I was like, fuck, I'm learning how to bartend.
Yeah.
And I went and got a private teacher and I learned how to bartend and I started getting work as a bartender where I could make $200-300 a night cash.
Yeah.
And, that was great. It was awesome. And eventually I got burnt out on that. But during that process, during that time, thinking about, well, how else am I going to make money? Because I'm still too scared to go full time into music. And I was drawn to the healing arts. I had some friends who were into massage, blah, blah, blah. I was always into it. I had a profound experience on a massage table dealing with my mom and her illness. I had a body worker. This was while I was still in Ithaca, who said to me, he was a massage therapist. That's how he announced, that's how he called himself. But he was working on me and he started talking to me while we were on the table. He started asking me questions. And something really profound happened to me in that session. I had never understood or I'd never had the experience of being in a healing environment where body work was happening and simultaneously verbal communication, therapeutic work was also happening. And it was a very important realization for me in my search for healing, for understanding illness and mental struggle and all of it. And something clicked for me where I realized these two worlds of body healing and mind healing could be fused. And it changed my world. It was really big. That moment was really big for me. So fast forward, I'm in New York City and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm thinking about massage as a kind of work I might study, but something's not right about it. It's too much hands, only body, only hands, only body, a lot of hard movement work. I'm not really big. It wasn't quite right. And I eventually met a guy named John Beaulieu who taught polarity therapy. And he was a very spiritual guy, and he was a very interesting music healing guy. And he created his own system of healing with sound using tuning forks. So I was like, whoa, this guy is incredible. He's doing body work. He was also a great verbal counselor. He had worked as a counselor at Bellevue Mental Hospital. I mean, he was just like, he embodied all these different things that I wanted to learn about. So I enrolled in his school, and that was where I studied polarity therapy. It was in New York City. He was down in below, it was like in Soho area. He had a loft down there. And I studied with him for about 5 years or something, 6 years.
Wow.
And I loved what I learned. The work, polarity work, is a blended system of body work, nutritional work, counseling work, energy work, and it's a fusion. The easiest way I can explain it is it's like a fusion between chiropractic, osteopathic work, and Ayurvedic or Indian philosophy on healing, which is very much based on energy and the chakra system. And those two worlds are fused into this study. And for me, that was like, it doesn't get any better than that, you know. And then the fact that John had this whole sound healing methodology called biosonic repatterning, I had to learn it. I had to learn it. And then I had to learn it so that I could teach it. I wanted to teach it. And through my work with John, in my training with him as a polarity practitioner, one of the arms of that training was teacher training, teaching us how to teach. And John is an amazing teacher. And it was through my study and my work with that program and with John that I realized how much I love teaching and how much it grew me as a person to teach.
In what way?
If you really want to be a good teacher, in my experience, you have to be present.
So it helps you become more present.
It helped me become more present. And this was another profound moment for me. I've been studying polarity, and I hadn't been performing that much over a course of about 2.5 years. And after that point, I did a gig. I remember it was at the Bitter End in Manhattan.
I love that place. Been there a
million
times.
I hate the stage sound. I hate the sound on stage in that room. I always have. But nonetheless, I did a gig, and I hadn't played in like 1.5 years, but I had studied polarity. And I had been, you know, very involved in the training, and, you know, every weekend we're doing classes. And I realized that during that time, there had been this incredible transformation in me in terms of becoming present in my body. I was always uncomfortable in my body. I was always uncomfortable. I don't know how else to explain it. Just didn't want to be present in it. Always, my whole life. Always struggling, always fighting. All of a sudden, somebody in me showed up that had been long gone. And I was on that stage playing music, and I had one of the most profound experiences in my life as a performer and as a musician. And ever since that point, my performances live have been going on an uphill ascension into just getting better and better and better and better and better. But what I mean by that is simply that I'm more and more present all the time. I'm more and more honest with myself and my audience all the time.
God, I really have a hard time believing that you would not be honest with yourself, and you're like the most straightforward human being I've met in a long time. I mean that in a very respectful, admirable, positive way, man. Yeah.
Well, there was a big shift, and you know, honesty, I think, is like layers of an onion peeling. You know, I don't think I was not ever an honest performer, but I think I wasn't as present as I have become. And the more present I have become, the deeper I'm able to tap into what's really going on for me right this second. And I'm going to share it with you, because here we are together doing this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it impacts people differently. So, you know, in this really way that I could never have put words to or never have understood before, that until it transformed me in that way, my work in the healing world has fed my work as a musician and as a performer and as a human, you know.
Don't you think that your confidence went up as well? Because I think that it's when you're more confident, you're so much more likely to be more honest, because you give a shit less about the fallout.
Yeah. Yes. There's a level of confidence
you
have to have.
Yeah, it had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and it grows, and that's just a constant thing that grows. The more you realize it's okay to be that way with your audience, let's say, then you begin to trust it more, and then you go, okay, well, maybe I can even be more that way. And you feel that it's okay and it works, and not everybody's going to like it.
And that's okay.
It's like there was a day. This was a funny transition as well. I used to, how we all have those those tuners that we stomp boxes, we step on them and it mutes our sound so we could tune quietly. Mm-hmm. So for many years, that's what I did. When I was going to tune, which I do it between every song, basically, I change the tune.
Wow.
So I step on the stomp box and I go into my own little private Idaho and I leave you behind and I da-da-da-da-da, and then I come back. Well, at a certain point in time, I guess as my confidence was growing just about what it is I do as a performer, I finally said, you know what? I'm not going to mute my sound anymore. I want you to come with me when I go from an open D tuning to a C2. I want you to come with me and let's do it together. So I stopped hiding my tuning from the audience, and that was another critical point for me in my confidence, in trusting what it is I have to offer, not caring that it may not be what the next person's doing, or it may not be what you're used to, but that I always look at that as kind of another important marker for me in my growth. So and people dig it.
Do you practice actively now? Like, do you practice this on other people who want to have this experience?
Polarity therapy?
Yeah.
Or sound healing? I haven't done polarity sessions in quite a while. I did have a time where I was trying to do sessions and trying to get clients, and that was kind of hell. It was a very hard thing to get going as a full-time profession. But it's something that I have in my skill set. Yeah. And so when it's appropriate, I'm happy to offer it. And the realm of sound healing, that's another story. And that's something that I'm developing still. And I hope before I die, I actually get it to a point where I'd like it to be, which is where I'd like to integrate sound healing into more of what I do.
I think there's probably a lot of people that would be open to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think as it's not like when we were kids where, you'd say chiropractor, people would be like, oh, now, I mean, like, right. It's like, now it's like everybody's pretty much, more people than not are trying to get away from big pharma and all that crap and get into alternative healing and natural things that they're not sticking in their body and, getting addicted to or whatever.
Yeah, I agree. Time is good for that.
Let me ask you a guitar question. I know it's kind of weird. Are there any players that have influenced you to develop this style besides the ones in the genre that you mentioned, which were out there? I don't know even if they were influences.
Sorry, my phone has just told me the temperature on it is very hot. So it may stop, and if it does, I'll run up and get my iPad because
no worries.
Stops. I'll call you right back.
Okay.
Okay. Any other guitar players that were influential?
Yeah, on you, just as a player, not necessarily on your on these techniques you developed, but in general, besides Joni Mitchell.
Pat Metheny was always somebody I felt in my heart and my blood, and not only his playing, but his arranging and his composition and the work he did with Lyle Mays in the early days of Pat Metheny Group. When he would come out with a new album, there would always be some new element to it. I remember at a certain point he started adding the Brazilian vocalists doing the Portuguese stuff. Like whenever he would come out with a new album and there would be another element that he would have added, it would have been something that inside of my own psyche somewhere, I would have done the same thing at that time if I had the wherewithal. Like, I just always felt like I was on some parallel musical pathway as him, you know, and so I don't think you can hear him in my music, but he was just one of those musical forces that opened my heart for many, many years. So I have to say, in some way, he influenced me.
Your guitar, sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Your guitar, it's a beautiful sounding guitar. What is that?
Well, which one are you?
The one you were playing. I don't know. Every time I see a guitar in your hand, it just sounds
the one I was just playing here?
Yeah, but every video I've seen you in, it's like, wow, that sounds amazing. It sounds like the only guitar that, if I don't play acoustic guitar, but it sounds like if I had to play acoustic guitar, it's the only one I want to play. Whatever one you're playing, because not that it would sound anything like you, of course, but
the two guitars I've been playing lately in the past 4 or 5 years are, one is a factory made in China guitar that Luna made for me. It's Vicki Genfan signature. So it's a cheap guitar basically, but they made a good model, and I got medium strings on it, and I have a very wonderful system in terms of miking the body so that I can get all the percussive stuff. It's a system called Mini Flex 2 mic. MINI Flex, FLEX, Mini Flex 2 mic, and it's literally 2 microphones that go inside the guitar through the end pin on a one rubber arm, and I've got one kind of at the lower bout, and then one under the sound hole. Very little feedback. Something about the 2 microphones. Phase canceling, some frequencies, so it's not as prone to feedback. It's just been an awesome system for me. So I have a piezo pickup in there as well, just under the strings, and then I have the Mini Flex. And the other guitar that I've been playing, Luna guitars came on board in my life after I won the Superstar, or let's say right before I was in that competition. 2007 or something. And I love the designer, Yvonne Barlog. She's why I got in a relationship with that company. She's a brilliant artist and a brilliant human being, and we've become very good friends. So I wanted to play a Luna guitar, but their guitars weren't quite up to par. And when I won the competition, I was playing a Gibson because I had gotten a few really beautiful instruments from Gibson. An L140, which is just an amazing instrument. And the owner of Luna at that point, he was like, "Why didn't you play a Luna?" I was like, "Because Luna guitars aren't good enough for me to play."
Good for you.
In this situation. There's no question about it. I can't do what I need to do. So at that point, he said, "Well, why don't we make you a guitar? Why don't we make you a dream guitar? And why don't you find a luthier who you would like to build a guitar, and we'll work together. We'll pay for it." Well, it's not easy to find a luthier that wants to build a guitar and not put his name on it, his or her name.
Sure.
I got really lucky. I have a dear friend who lives here in North Carolina who builds amazing guitars, who's not famous for building guitars yet. His name is Gray Burchett. His guitars are called Burchett guitars. And he was willing to collaborate in this way. And so I went around North Carolina with Gray to visit all the guitars that he had built for various people and play them all, see what I liked.
Wow, that must have been a fun trip.
That was a really fun trip.
Yeah.
And I ended up visiting one of his friends who had a jumbo. And I picked up that jumbo guitar, and I'm not a big person, and I've traditionally played relatively small guitars. Picked up that jumbo, and I felt it vibrating into my belly, and I was just like, you know what? I'm getting a jumbo. Make me a jumbo. So I have this really big, amazing guitar that Gray built with the Luna logo on it. But it's a beautiful, beautiful instrument, and I'm very lucky to be playing it. So those are the two. I'm playing the Lunas right now. I'm not sure what's happening with Luna. The owner has passed away last year, and everything is changing, and Yvonne's gone, and all my friends over there are gone. But I'm going to meet the guys, the new people, when I come in March. And
they're here? They're down here?
They're in Tampa.
That's weird.
It's the Dean Factory, Dean Guitar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now I get it. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Which guitar are you bringing? What's that? Waters
Avenue?
Yeah, Waters Avenue. Yeah, that's a pretty big.
Yeah, that's where that's where the shop is.
Right off 275.
Yeah, I'll be bringing both guitars with me, and I'm also bringing this really cool mandolin guitar that I got from Gold Tone. That's So I've been playing a 6-string banjo for a bunch of years that I got from Deering, and this 6-string mandolin, which is like a guitar but like a mandolin. And I love these instruments. I love being able to do what I do on now an instrument with different timbres and different tones and different, with the banjo you got the drum head, which is so awesome. So maybe I'll bring all of them to Florida.
Well, I'm going to come see you now. So now that I've gotten to speak to you, I didn't expect to get all this out of this conversation. I got to be honest with you. This has been great. This is like, do you have like a radar? Like, because we didn't know each other from anything. We spoke 10 minutes. No. Do you have a radar, or do you just like before you talk to somebody or you just said, let me just go for it, and it'll either vibe or it won't, and I'll know quickly? Or do you have like a filter, like I have good radar about people, too good sometimes.
I think if I didn't feel comfortable with you, I wouldn't perhaps have talked so much about all this we've talked about. But I feel that you're respectful.
Oh yeah,
and you've made that clear, and so it makes it easy for me to just, I also really enjoy talking about other things besides just, where'd you grow up and what guitars do you play? To me, that's nice, but no, no, and we haven't even gotten into cooking yet. So.
Well, it's funny because people say, are we going to talk about gear? I'm like, a little. I will never ask you, do you play 9s or 10s? I assure you, because here's my thoughts process, right? What am I going to do with this information? Right? There's plenty of shows out there that are going to ask that question. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to play like whoever? Can I play like you if I get a Luna with your model? Hell no. Even if I started today and took private lessons from you for 5 years, I'm not going to play like you. So, let's talk about what's important, which is you. How did you get to be you? To me, that's what I'm curious about. That's what motivates me and inspires me, to be honest with you, and gets me thinking, and keeps me in a positive zone.
Yeah. Well, no, I enjoy it. I'm enjoying talking with you.
Likewise. I'm going to ask you a few more questions, and then we'll go, because if I ask you too many, I think the internet's going to blow up.
Well, at least my phone is going to blow up.
Or your phone, or both. What's something you've learned about yourself, Vicki, along this whole journey?
Oh, boy.
And if you don't say as one of your answers that you're resilient, shame on you.
I appreciate very much you saying that, because I don't know that I am that, but
you're here, you're up every day, and you're fighting a good fight, so you're resilient.
Thank you. What I was going to say is, you made me lose my train of thought. Ask me the question again.
What's something that you've learned about yourself along this journey?
Okay. I've learned that I am my own worst critic.
I would agree with that. For sure.
And not to take that voice so seriously.
Yeah. I was super critical of myself for many, many years, and I still am far more critical than I should be. But you know what I started doing? I started talking to myself. Like, literally. Like when I'd be thinking stupid, wacky shit, I'd be like, no, so I'd like, Craig, listen to yourself. This doesn't even make any sense. And like, I literally have a conversation with myself.
Right. And you kind of argue with that voice.
No, I would come like as, you know, I've been a consultant for 19 years. And what's helped me is that like, so I would approach myself like I was my client. And I would talk to myself like I was, because it's much easier when I'm not in it, right? And so I would actually respond like that. And sometimes Ann would come and she said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just talking." And she hears me in the shower sometimes. She goes, "What are you doing?" I'm just like talking to myself, you know. At this point, no turning back, right? But yeah, that's what.
No, I get it. I get it.
It's really helped. Really helped because I talk to myself like I'm somebody else. Like I'm a client. Like what would I say to a client?
Yeah, I know. I do the same.
Yeah, and it's really good.
I do the same.
So your own worst critic and you're resilient. Good. Man, I have a question here. Tell me something about yourself people would either be surprised to hear or might find a little odd. I think we've covered all the odd shit. I don't think there's any more, Vicki, I don't think there's any more room for odd on this call. What's your strongest personal quality?
Oh, my strongest personal quality?
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
I know, that's why I asked you.
Communication.
You know, I think you come across as a pretty empathetic person as well, to be honest with you. Yeah, I would say you probably have a lot of empathy. Tough as that.
I think that helps. I think that helps my communication.
Yeah.
I think that's in there.
Who's had the biggest influence on you throughout your life or on your life?
Well, I want to say my father, and in a pretty negative way, but it's also forced me to be who I am, become who I am. You know, so who's had you're not asking me positive or negative, and that's, you know, my wife has had a great, one of the most enduring positive influences on me, because she's the person in my life who says, why not, when I'm always saying no.
How long have you been together?
About 20, almost 25 years.
Shit. Shut me up, man. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And as you know, that's no small feat.
I know.
In fact, small feat.
My
congratulations.
My
Good
healer
for you.
would often say to me, "Wow, with all the shit you're trying to fight off, man, it's amazing. You've got this person in your life who's just so solid." And yeah, I'm so lucky.
Good for you. Congratulations to both of you guys.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask you one more question.
Okay.
And then I want to talk about where people could find you.
Okay.
What's been the biggest change in your personality over the last, 5 to 10 years? And has it been deliberate or just a process, part of aging?
I'm going to answer that by saying, I'm 58, and I have to say that I think in the last 5 years, let's say.
You look great, to be honest with you. I would never think you're 58. I mean, I knew because of the time frames you were talking about, you had to be around my age, but you look great.
Thank you.
So whatever you're doing, eat more of it.
Yeah, right? Kale. Two things simultaneously are coming into my mind about that. One is that I think with age, getting older, I think that I think some things are getting harder for me. I've got some physical things going on. I got some numbness in my fingers. I've got, I think also due to the fact that we're addicted to telephones and smartphones and computers. I think that focus and the ability to focus has been compromised. So I find that one of the things I'm up against in the past 5 years is really trying to be more efficient with how I use my time and energy, because I feel like I don't have as much energy as I might want to have. And, again, some of that's getting older. Some of that is just a life lived where I've been, fighting myself, trying to get my shit together, whatever. And so I guess what I'm saying to you is that in the past 5 or 10 years, I think that what's happening in my personality is that I'm becoming more aware of the things I really want to work on. I'm becoming more aware of how I can snap easily if I'm not feeling my best, if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not eating well, sleeping well. I'm become more aware of that. I can be snitty or snappy with Tay, my wife. I can be impatient. So so that awareness has been growing the last 5 to 10 years. I think there's a lot of reasons it's happening, but that awareness is happening, and I really want to be the best person I can be. And I want to use my gifts in the best way I can to serve as many people as I can who can be served by what it is I can have to offer. I value community. I value family. I value friends. So I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but I don't know how else to answer that question other than to say these are the things that I see about myself in the last 5 to 10 years. And I really want to improve and be the best person I can, which a lot of that at this age for me has to do with learning and being committed to taking care of myself in all the ways we know we have to do that. I hope that's a good answer.
I think you answered it great. Yeah, I think it was great. Everything is honest is great. There's no right or wrong. It's like a urine test. Is no pass or fail.
Yeah, my interview with Craig was just like a urine test. You are funny.
Hey, listen, I want to tell people where to find you. First of all, you're going to be down here next week. Let's talk about where people can see if they're in Florida.
Absolutely. Monday the 12th, I'm going to be in Orlando at a really cool art center called Blue Bamboo Art Center. And all this stuff is on my website, too, so people can get details.
All right. Monday, March 12th, Blue Bamboo Art Center in Orlando. And then on the 16th, you're going to be here in Tampa?
I am at Replay Guitar Exchange.
Great, at Replay.
That's an early show. It's kind of a masterclass / concert, and it's a good chance for people to...
What time?
5:30 start.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great place for people to come, and if you want to ask me nerdy guitar questions, the more the merrier.
5:30, awesome. Cool, and you got a couple of new choruses coming out with True Fire.
Yeah, I also want to say Saturday the 17th, St. Patty's Day, I'll be at the Hideaway in St. Pete.
Oh, that's I've never been there. That's a cool place. I've heard a lot of cool things.
It's a very cool place. Yeah.
Oh, you've played there before?
No, but tons of people have.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to work it out for years. So.
Okay, so the Hideaway in St. Pete on the 17th. Yep. Replay at Tampa on the 16th, and on Monday the 12th, Blue Bamboo in Orlando. Let me just go through that chronologically instead of backwards. Monday the 12th of March, Blue Bamboo, Orlando. The 16th, Tampa, Replay Music. And the 17th, which is a Saturday, you're going to be at the Hideaway in St. Pete. And while you're down here, you're doing some courses for True Fire. When do those courses come out?
Yep.
Do you know?
I don't know. Probably May.
Great.
April, May. Something like that. And also I'll be opening up room for new private students via the True Fire platform, probably within the month.
Awesome. Fantastic.
So if anyone's interested in that, come and visit me there. Visit me website, visit me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Great.
And if anyone wants to be an intern for me, please contact me because
great. What are you looking for? Have people
looking for someone to help me with social media.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would love to have someone on board with that.
And how do you want them to contact you? Go to your website and submit the contact
Yeah,
form?
go to the website. Yep,
Great.
that works.
Okay, so let me tell you how to find Vicki online. It's Vicki Genfan, VickiGenfan.com. She's also on Facebook, Instagram, and what else?
Twitter.
And Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, and under Vicki Genfan?
Yep.
All right. Cool. Well, I got to tell you, this was like a hell of a lot cooler conversation than I had any expectations for. I really appreciate you're a very sweet person. You're very kind and you're very charming, and I really appreciate you being so candid and having such an open discussion about yourself with me. And I will see you when you're down here for sure.
Yeah, and next interview we have to talk about my dance project that we didn't even get to.
And cooking, apparently.
And cooking, yep.
And you're more than welcome on here anytime, honestly.
Thank you, Craig. It's been a pleasure. It really has.
Thank you for your time. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. Please check out Vicki Genfan. She's an amazing, incredible player, and she does things with an acoustic guitar that are almost illegal, but they sound really good. And thank you so much, Vicki, for spending time with us. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes along with early product announcements and discounts. And remember that happiness is a choice. So be nice, go play your guitar, and most important, have some fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. Thanks for listening. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.